This is a compilation of evidence showing that there was a coordinated air assault using hijacked tourist helicopters at the 2017 massacre at the Mandalay Bay in Vegas. This is a little longer. Please try to sit through the whole thing. This is really important. This evidence is very difficult to ignore.
Now we're going to see something interesting. A group of 8 helicopters take off from Maverick Helicopters. I've written down and I've cross-referenced the call signs of all 8 of these aircraft. That's the 3rd one. That's the 4th one. A 5th one pops up. No call sign. 6 and 7 and 8 are, there's the 8th right there. And they magically appear back on radar just after the shooting stopped at 10:16. Another interesting thing that I noticed was that the last helicopter in the original group of 3, call sign N848MH, actually turns its transponder on, pops up right there. It just popped up, and I'll show that to you frame by frame here. But it's like it never actually took off from Maverick Helicopters, but perhaps left the shooting scene and joined that group formation and turned its transponder on right when it got into that group formation.
There's a shooter. You believe multiple shooters? Multiple shooters. It has to be.
But it flew low enough that I could see that there was a black curtain, the door was open, and the color of the instrument panel. It flew right over our heads. As soon as it got in front of Mandalay Bay, it kind of rose up in altitude, and that's when we heard the gunshots. I turned to my left immediately, looked up at the helicopter, and it was just like, what the hell, that was automatic gunfire. I'm thinking to myself, my girlfriend responds to me. She goes, babe, did you hear that helicopter? And I go, what about that helicopter? She says, it sounded funny. And I go, what do you mean it sounded funny? She goes, it just sounded weird. And I go, that wasn't the helicopter, that was automatic gunfire. And then as we're talking about it, I turn my head to my left again, and I look at the helicopter, and I see it circle around Mandalay Bay towards the back end of it, and there's no gunshots. As soon as it comes back to the front of Mandalay Bay, you hear the brrr again, and then it flies off again.
Tell what that night, but for some reason, I just knew it was coming out of that helicopter. But I was so unbelievably certain that it was coming from the helicopter.
Yes, we have all kinds of help on the way, okay? Everything's going to be okay. We're getting officers out there. Okay.
You guys gonna see the officers on the sky. He's flying in a helicopter.
Do you think he's in a helicopter?
Yes.
I almost felt like there was a helicopter above us shooting. It was so bizarre, like a war sound.
There's an active shooter on the airport. This is a blanket broadcast for all aircraft. Just a heads up.
After the 10th volley, you'll notice one of the helicopters that's not supposed to be there heading east over the venue.
Keep your head down, run that way.
Could this be where the shooters are, and that it's not coming from room 32135? Why don't we see that aircraft on Flight Radar 24? At this moment in time, there's nothing on Flight Radar.
Starting at 9:38, radar shows that 3 helicopters, supposedly registered to Mustang Leasing, depart from the vicinity of Mavericks and head north off screen.
And you can see their call signs, their tail numbers. That 3rd one turned its transponder on a little bit late.
5 minutes later at 9:45, the same 3 helicopters that left earlier begin to return from the north, head south across the strip, and then stop and begin to hover above the Mandalay Bay area for several minutes. By 9:50, all 3 helicopters hovering above Mandalay Bay turn off their transponders 15 minutes before the shooting begins, and they do not go back on until after the shooting at the festival ceases. We know they were physically there because multiple eyewitnesses and videos catch them going back and forth between Luxor and the Mandalay Bay throughout the shooting. At 9:55, a helicopter blips on screen with no call sign and heads north out of the area, followed by another one about a minute later, also without a call sign, and they both head north.
And then we see that again, a separate helicopter, different timestamp again, heading up north, no call sign.
At 10:04 p.m., the 2 helicopters with no call signs return from the north, presumably the same ones that left a little earlier, and land at the airport. Mavericks is at the beginning of the runway in the blue circle. These 2 land here at the highlighted part at Sundance Helicopters, which is now out of business. Funny thing is, that location will end up receiving multiple 911 calls throughout the night about shots being fired, a woman injured with a gunshot in the hangar, and people hiding from suspects on the premise in a possible hostage situation.
Okay, what's the address of your emergency, ma'am?
The only thing that I know is it's called Sundance Helicopter.
Okay, ma'am, ma'am, are you hiding there?
No, I'm not hiding. My friend just called me, and he told me that he has seen a big shooting over there, and they have been taking us a hostage over there.
They're being held hostage?
Yes.
Are they hiding there, ma'am?
That's what I think, because he was talking to me like in a low voice.
Okay.
The thing is that our friends are in a tour in Sunday Helicopter, and it seems that they have them hostages. They called us, and they're saying that there is a shooting and everything.
And they're in the helicopter? Are they in the helicopter with the shooter?
Y ellos están en Well, they were in a tour. They just called us, and they said that they need us to call the police because there was a shooting and they have them hostages. And I don't know if they were there where the helicopter is located.
Okay. And so were they in a helicopter or are they at the Mandalay Bay at the concert?
Okay, ¿ellos están en el helicóptero o están en Mandalay Bay, en el concierto?
Oh, ella estaba en el tour, en el helicóptero, no es que no me responde.
Well, they were in a tour on the helicopter, but they are not answering right now.
You know, I don't really know how else to describe this besides disgusting. Doing this stuff to us is disgusting. And it needs to stop. A lot of innocent people that got hurt and killed that day. So, pay attention, stay armed.